All right, let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a math problem, but it's dressed up as a story about two trains leaving different cities or someone buying a ridiculous amount of fruit. It's just a couple of sentences, but man, it feels like an impossible riddle.
It's something we've all been through. The math itself might be simple, some adding, some subtracting, but figuring out what to do with the numbers feels like you're trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. So what is going on there? Why do our brains just short circuit?
Well, here's the twist. According to the folks over at Edutopia, the real problem usually isn't the math at all. It's the reading. The biggest challenge is just translating the words of the problem into something you can actually work with before you even think about picking up a calculator.
So really, it all comes down to a translation issue. You're trying to turn regular English into the language of math. The big question then is, how do you actually build a solid, reliable bridge between those two worlds?
Well, luckily for us, there's a blueprint for that. And get this, it's not new. Way back in 1945, a mathematician named George Polya laid out this incredibly simple but powerful framework that's still just as relevant today. Let's check it out.
Polya's 4 steps are like the DNA of problem solving. First step, understand the problem. Seriously, can you explain it back in your own words? Second, devise a plan. How are you going to tackle this? Maybe you look for a pattern or draw a quick sketch. Third, carry out the plan. This is the part where you actually crunch the numbers. And fourth, and this is the one everybody skips, look back. Check your work. Does the answer even make sense? It's like the basic operating system for thinking logically.
Okay, so that's the classic blueprint. But how does a framework from the 40s actually get used today? Well, educators have taken Polya's core ideas and kind of supercharged them for the modern classroom, breaking them down into an even clearer roadmap.
And what's so cool here is you can literally see the evolution. Polya's simple understand the problem gets expanded into visualize and represent. His plan and carry out steps get broken down into identify the question and then organize and solve. And that all-important look back step becomes justify your thinking. It's the same fundamental logic, just with more detailed, actionable steps to guide you along the way.
So let's talk about that very first step, visualizing. How do you actually do that? Well, one of the most powerful tools to come out of math education, especially from Singapore, is a technique that's all about turning abstract words into a simple picture. It's called bar modeling, and the idea couldn't be simpler. You just use basic rectangles, bars, to represent the numbers in a problem. This little trick turns a confusing story into a concrete visual picture. You can see what you know, and you can see what you're trying to find. It's the perfect bridge between words and math.
Take a look at this. It's a perfect, simple example. Let's say a problem is, Helen has 14 breadsticks and her friend has 17. With bar modeling, you just draw a single bar. One chunk is 14, the other is 17. The total length of the bar is the big question mark. All of a sudden, it's not just a story anymore. It's a picture that's literally telling you, hey, add these two things together.
And here's where it gets really powerful, because it's not just for simple addition. It scales up. For a trickier problem, like Ken buys 230 more fruit bars than Grant, you just use 2 separate bars. Right away, you can actually see the difference between the two amounts. This one simple visual tool can untangle some seriously complex multi-step problems just by making everything clear.
But there's a really interesting debate among the experts about the absolute best way to teach these kinds of skills. Is it better to give students these big picture frameworks, or should we be teaching them something a lot more specific?
Think about it like this. A general strategy might tell you to draw a picture. Okay, that's helpful, but it's pretty broad. A specific tactic, on the other hand, tells you exactly what kind of picture to draw for a specific type of problem. Like for a tricky geometry problem, the tactic might be draw a line from this corner to that corner to reveal a shape you can work with. The idea is to build up a whole toolbox of these very precise moves for specific situations.
Okay, so we've got these frameworks, these stages, these visual tools, but why should we care so much? Why is mastering this process so incredibly important? Well, because it's about so much more than just passing a math class.
Because this skill, the ability to look at a messy, real-world situation, translate it into a clean model, make a plan, and then execute that plan, that's not just a math skill. That's the skill. It's the engine that drives progress and lets us solve pretty much any complex problem you can think of. I mean, when engineers are designing a new jet engine, they're using these principles. When scientists model how a virus spreads, or when financial analysts try to predict the stock market, they're all doing the exact same thing on a massive scale. It always starts with turning a real-world problem into a mathematical model you can actually solve.
So the next time you're up against a tough problem, whether it's got numbers in it or not, just remember this. Problem solving isn't some magical gift that you're either born with or you're not. It is a skill. It's something that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. So the only real question left is, what problem are you ready to truly understand?